Assalamu alaikum and good evening. Viewers, finally, after more than 6 months, the government has come up with what it considers to be a comprehensive national security policy. Interior Minister Chaudhry Nisar had spelled out the outline of the three-pronged policy. Only the strategic and operational components of the policy have been made public, while it was decided to keep the third part confidential. The policy spells out a clear time frame with a target to have an operational institutional network in place within a year. The policy will strengthen the hands of those who hold talks with the militants and will provide the much needed backing to the army. Talks with the militants are the first option, while other options would be used as a last resort. On the other hand, opposition leader Khurshid Shah said a national security policy has further confused the nation, while Chaudhry Nisar disclosed that no political party or provincial government made any contribution whatsoever in the formulation of the national security policy. Now, this raises a couple of questions here. Will first national security policy after 13 years prove to be the solution for Pakistan's crisis? How long is the government going to wait for the Taliban to come to the table? And if the peace talks fail, what will determine that time has come to shift to the option of the last resort? Today, we will discuss all these aspects of national security policy. We will touch base the status of U.S.-Afghan Security Pact, Pak-Saudi defense cooperation, and its impact on Syria and Iran as well. As you know, viewers, in my show, I have Mr. Zaid Hamid joining me. Assalamu alaikum, Mr. Zaid Hamid. As you know, that last week on Wednesday, Interior Minister Chaudhry Nisar announced the national security policy in the presence of the Prime Minister Nawab Sharif. So we would like to have a look at the report on the national security policy first, and then we would like to have your comment on that. Let's have a look at that first.
The 100 pages policies have been divided into three parts: day-to-day policies as well as strategic and operational parts. The first part, which deals with the day-to-day policies, will not be revealed and remain confidential as it involves details about daily operations. The strategic part of the policy sets out rules for how to use various options available to the government, including dialogues, military operation, and use of force and negotiation simultaneously. Third part of the policy deals with tackling threats and responding to attack. According to the Interior Minister, a joint intelligence directorate will be established for communication between the numerous intelligence agencies working in the country. Besides reviving the National Counter-Terrorism Authority, NECTA, a rapid response force would also be formed under the new security policy. The forces to be deployed in each of the provinces will have access to airfields to ensure immediate response. A security division will also be established to coordinate with the civil armed forces.
Yes, Mr. Zaid Hamid, on Wednesday, Chaudhry Nisar announced finally the much-awaited national security policy after the 6 months of the work, and Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif was also there. How do you see this national security policy? Is it capable of tackling the circumstances that we have in Pakistan?
In one simple word, I'm shocked, disgusted. The fact of the matter is that if this is what they have produced after 6 months of brainstorming and scratching their heads, then this is actually nauseating. One would like to throw up actually at the capability and the quality of leadership that we have. The country is in flames. The country is undergoing 4th and 5th generation war. The country is being dismembered. The whole Middle East is being reshaped. And Pakistan is part of that global reshaping of the greater Middle East plan. And they come out with this rubbish called national security policy.
So you think that the focus that is on this national security policy, they have touched base with the creation of rapid force, they have touched base on the establishment of an internal intelligence division to coordinate with 26 intelligence agencies, the establishment of joint intelligence directorate. All this, it does not stand anywhere?
You see, what is the problem? The basic threat analysis is wrong. All these steps are normally done in any country where there is a minor law and order problem. But the problem is that we do not suffer from a law and order problem, we suffer from an imposed war. And this is what this national security policy does not identify, does not clarify. What they are focusing on is that by keeping within the parameters of the civil jurisdiction, by strengthening the civil organization and institutions, by giving more powers to the judiciary and creating more rapid response forces and giving them more access to the airfields, they feel that they can counter this imposed war, which is now in the last stages of dismemberment of Pakistan. They are not willing to accept that this is a war, and more powers and authority will have to be given to the armed forces. They'll have to acknowledge first that Pakistan is under attack in a 4th and 5th generation war. This whole doctrine, this whole paper that they have produced does not mention that. And secondly, no matter what strategy you build, what coordination you make.
What about the factor of strengthening the defense power?
You see, this is what I'm saying. Strengthening the national security strategy means you impose a strong deterrence against the terrorists. What they have done is they have put an embargo on the death penalty. This whole national security strategy which they have produced does not mention that they are going to hang the terrorists or put the terrorists in front of the firing squads. In fact, a moratorium, a ban has been imposed in the country on the death penalty. So basically the ultimate deterrence, whatever you do, ultimately what will you do? You'll capture the terrorists, you'll put them to trial. What will you do? You'll release them, or you'll put them in jail, but you'll never hang them, you'll never kill them, you'll never execute them. And the terrorists in Pakistan, as you have seen, 3 major jailbreaks have already taken place. All the hardcore terrorists have already been released. All the major fighters who were fighting against Pakistan now were previously in jails, who were released in jailbreaks. And that is why...
So what I'm understanding is the final piece of the puzzle, that the ban on the death sentence needs to be eliminated.
You see,
and then this procedure will go somewhere.
They did not need all this elaborate puzzle, jigsaw puzzle or nonsense which they have created in the name of national security strategy. All they had to do was acknowledge and accept that Pakistan is in a state of war, and Pakistan army should be given all powers. They should have declared a war emergency. They should have given all powers to the Pakistan army and Pakistan's military intelligence and ISI and also to the Pakistan army's legal branch to form court-martial courts. Make courts where they can put the terrorists to court-martial and then execute them.
What about NECTA? What about that establishment of Joint Intelligence Directorate? What about the coordination between the 26 intelligence agencies? Don't you think that these agencies and these departments are capable of doing what you're referring for Army to do?
You see, this is exactly what I fear. By strengthening or creating new departments, the departments which were dormant, which were sleeping, there was no coordination between various civil armed forces or civilian intelligence agencies. The government department organizations were almost dead. Now at a stage when the war is in the last stages, reviving those dead institutions means they will take at least a year and a half to break them operational, while the war is upon us now. And the only organization which is effectively alive and fighting has not been strengthened.
But they did say in the policy that the surgical strikes would continue.
You see, surgical strikes is like doing an operation to remove the cancerous tumor. But we all know that removing the cancerous tumor is not the end of the disease. That it's a whole rehabilitation process of chemotherapy and rehabilitation and managing the disease. It's the after effects of it. And this is where the civilian infrastructure of Pakistan has collapsed. The judiciary does not convict the terrorists. In the last 10 years, in the last 13 years, in fact, not a single terrorist has been convicted. Those convicted have not been hanged because the government have put a moratorium, a ban on hanging, on death penalty. And this is what we are saying. The insanity of the whole situation is, while the country is at war, you do not, because this political government is weak. They're afraid. They're afraid of their own shadows. They're afraid of giving more strength to the army. Because they feel if they acknowledge and accept that Pakistan is in a state of war, they will have to declare war emergency. They'll have to accept martial law in certain areas.
But then, Mr. Zaid Hamid, according to Chaudhry Nisar, he says that after US, Pakistan has the biggest network of 26 intelligence agencies which do not have any coordination between them. And now they're going to focus on this. So don't you believe that, don't you trust these 26 intelligence agencies, that if they're better coordinated, they will perform? The performance will be there.
What I'm saying is, if Pakistan is standing today, it is only because of the effort of 2 agencies, ISI and military intelligence, as far as the intelligence agencies are concerned. And the only organization which is fighting to defend and keep Pakistan united is Pakistan Army. Why not strengthen them? Revive your civilian organizations as well. I'm not against it. But reviving them now, when they are dead and there's no coordination, and reviving the institutions to make them effective will take at least a year. You think we have 1 year? We don't even have weeks. In the first 3 weeks of this new year, we lost almost 300 people, dead and wounded. So the bloodiest campaign in our history was waged in the first 3 weeks until the army retaliated, Air Force retaliated, and we knocked out some of the frontline fighters and commanders. And then they sued for peace, and they wasted 3 weeks in peace talks as well. And then again today, Army and Air Force are striking them, pounding them back. So the point is, the war is ongoing. You don't have time to make new organizations and new structures and revive your dead horses and hope that they will be able to run in the derby in the next 1 year. It's not going to happen.
But
you don't have that much time.
What about the total number of national departments, security departments is 33, and the total number of the workers working in them is 6 lakh, almost the same as Pak Army. So don't you think that if they can be focused, they can be of great help to improve the situation, the terrorism crisis in Pakistan?
There is no arguing. But the question is, the fact of the matter is the war is going on for the last 13 years. Why were those departments not made active till today? This is exactly what we are saying. The judiciary exists in this country for the last 67 years. What is the judiciary doing? Why have the judiciary, which is already functioning, active, so-called existing and present, has not convicted a single bloody terrorist?
Mr. Zaid Hamid, I have to take a break here. Once we come back from the break, we would like to talk on the operation that's happening, the surgical strikes that are happening in North Waziristan, and also we would like to touch base on the death of the Asmatullah Shaheen Bhutani. Viewers, stay with us. We'll be right back after a short break. Welcome back, viewers. We're talking about Pakistan's national security policy that has been approved on Wednesday. It was announced in the National Assembly by Chaudhry Nisar. Now, the bigger question is that will that national security policy good enough to save Pakistan from its crisis? Will that be implemented in its true spirit? Mr. Zaid Hamid, before we continue our discussion, let's see what does Chaudhry Nisar has to say in the National Assembly. Let's have a look at that.
किसी भी मुल्क को जब इस सूरत हाल का सामना होता है तो सबसे पहले फोकस होती है एक प्रोएक्टिव फोकस पॉलिसी, एक पॉलिसी तरतीब दी जाती है। आज जो मेरे दोस्त उस तरफ या हमारे अंदर भी बैठे हैं, मैं उनसे सवाल नहीं करना चाहता कि 13 साल उन 4 हुकूमतों ने इस पर तवज्जो क्यों नहीं दी। ये कोई रॉकेट साइंस नहीं था। आज से 3 महीने पहले मैंने खुद तमाम चीफ मिनिस्टर्स को खत लिखा कि सिक्योरिटी पॉलिसी के हवाले से अपनी आरा दें। अगर आप मजीद इसमें कुछ चीज शामिल करना चाहते हैं वो शामिल करें, मीटिंग्स में आना चाहते हैं। मैं इसके बारे में क्या कहूं कि चारों सूबों, किसी सूबे की तरफ से एक भी राय या एक भी मुतालबा या एक भी किसी किस्म की इनपुट हमें मुयस्सर नहीं हुई। तो हमने काम करना था, आगे बढ़ना था। यहां मसला ये होता है कि हर चीज तकरीर की नजर हो जाती है। हर चीज शाम को जो टॉक शोज हैं उसमें बात आगे बढ़ाई जाती है। हमने 5 महीने में ये डॉक्यूमेंट तरतीब दिया है। कोशिश की है कि हर मकतबा फिक्र की इनपुट ली जाए, 13 साल के तजर्बात से फायदा लिया जाए, जो बैन अवी मॉडल्स हैं उनसे मुस्तफीद हुआ जाए।
Yes, Mr. Zaid Hamid, as you heard Chaudhry Nisar, he's saying that we did this national security policy within 5 months. And he said that we did consult it 3 months ago to all the political parties and 4 CMs of all the provinces, but no one suggested other than MQM. Why can't we have all these political parties on one platform? And why can't they stop the blame game? Imran Khan didn't show up in the National Assembly. All the other parties are still whining that we were not consulted.
This is the problem. You just heard the Interior Minister saying that none of the provincial governments gave any input towards the national security policy development. The fact of the matter is that Pakistani politicians are completely naive as far as national security, defense strategy, urban war, 4th generation war, 5th generation war, how to respond to urban insurgencies, asymmetric, decentralized wars. These are alien concepts to Pakistani politicians.
Can't they be given some crash course on all this?
These are all feudal lords, businessmen, moneylenders, traders. None of these people have, this corrupt political system throws up this kind of garbage at the top. None of these are educated people who have got their specialist degrees in strategic studies or foreign policies or international relations or international politics or even law for that matter. Almost 90% of the politicians that you have at the top of the country right now who are leading the country are probably not even graduates. They got fake degrees. They came up on the complete fake education documents even. And this is the unfortunate tragedy. So whenever a major national crisis comes, where you have to either develop a defense strategy or national security strategy or foreign policy strategy, you are actually left with few people whom you can count on your fingers. And these people are normally, they come from such a prehistoric era, prehistoric age. They are not keeping up with the pace of the threats.
Today's time and age.
And as a result, as he was saying himself, for the last 13 years, 4 governments have come and gone. Right. Not a single government has produced any national security policy for the simple reason they were all bloody incompetents. None of them knew what a security policy document is. And even this document that they have produced is a bloody police report. It's not even national security strategy. They're calling it a national security strategy, but this is just strengthening various operational procedures, various daily input situation reports.
Hamid, I would like to share a comment given by Sheikh Rashid about the political leaders. He says that political faggots can't do anything. And today Pakistan is run by the Gang of 7. And the country is running by munshis. This is what one of the political leaders is saying about others. And just like you were saying that, the incompetency is there. Now, if we move on to the North Waziristan topic where, the operation is happening, what is going on there?
You see, what is happening is that basically the government, as we said, is getting cold feet. The government is scared, terribly afraid and scared to allow the ground troops to move into North Waziristan, because that is going to have lots of political fallouts. Lots of refugees are going to come out from the area. They'll have to be rehabilitated and managed. Lots of political noise will be created against the opponents of the operation. So what the Pakistan Army and the PF is doing is, they are doing selective, targeted, intelligence-based smart operations in the North Waziristan area against the TTP, the CIA and RAW-backed militant insurgent group which is fighting against the Pakistani state. So basically, we are having night operations, we are having targeted assassinations, we are having targeted strikes through gunship helicopters and F-16s, even special forces. So, and lots of friendly tribes are being deployed in special operations. So basically, what is happening is that escape routes are being blocked, their supply exit routes are being contained, and environment is now all set for the ground forces to move into those pockets where TTP is located. Pakistan Army is particularly very, very careful in the fact that the whole planning is based around one strategic planning is that the whole of North Waziristan will not be cleaned up. The whole of North Waziristan, the operation will not be done in entire North Waziristan province, in the territory. Because there are friendly tribes there with whom Pakistan Army has alliances, who are not hostile to Pakistan. The local are tribes, are friendly people, our own citizens, our own population. There are people there who belong to the Afghan resistance. And Afghan resistance, Pakistan is not at war with them. And there's no reason for Pakistan to declare war against Haqqani or Mullah Umar's group or Hikmatyar's group. But there's only one pocket where the CIA and RAW-backed TTP insurgents are present. So that pocket is being isolated and pounded. And their top commanders and frontline troops are being assassinated in intelligence-based operations. That's what's going on around.
Mr. Zaid Hamid, last week, Asmatullah Shaheen Bhutani, one of the known TTP leader, was killed with his 3 men. What do you think? Is this the internal TTP divide that is killing each other, or is it CIA? Or is it ISI?
You see, what has happened, as we said, that basically right now, since the ground troops have not moved into clearing up, in the clearing phase, in the mopping up operations, the focus is on assassinating the command and control infrastructure of the TTP. And assassination of their top commanders is part of this plan. And one of this, Asmatullah Shaheen, is one of their top commanders. And even TTP has acknowledged that it's an irreparable loss for them. Loss of this snake. But what about, as they're saying, the rumors are that Sajna, one of the compatible nominee for the TTP leadership, but when Fazlullah was appointed, and Asmatullah favored Fazlullah instead of Sajna, so Sajna's guys killed him. See, there is lots of infighting as well now between TTP, because when the organizational structure starts to collapse, when the leadership is assassinated, the second tier, third tier leadership starts to emerge and try to grab power in a power vacuum, and they're all armed gangs. it's natural that they start to fight amongst each other. And again, this is part of the strategy to eliminate the top leadership, bring up the second third leadership, which is not that capable, which will now grab for power within each other, and infighting will begin. So whatever is happening is actually a controlled demolition of the TTP, organized by the ISI. CIA is not doing it, because basically all of these militant groups are CIA assets. They are assets of raw Indian intelligence. So whatever you're seeing right now in North Waziristan and in different regions of the tribal areas where the TTP leadership is being hit, it's a joint coordinated operation between ISI, Pakistan Army and Pakistan Air Force. Of course, Navy is not involved.
So there is nothing to do with CIA.
So CIA is trying to protect these snakes because they are the assets which CIA had cultivated in the last 13 years. And that's why you find a flurry of activity between the American military commanders and visiting Pakistan. They're inviting Pakistan military leadership.
Why is this happening?
Yes.
Recently we have seen this,
because
expediting.
Lots of interaction you see going on right now between the top army leadership of Pakistan and the Americans, and Americans are actually visiting Pakistan, putting pressure on Pakistan army. American strategy is that Pakistan should go to war with the Afghan Taliban also. And Pakistan has been resisting this demand for the last 13 years. And now, when the end game in Afghanistan has begun, when the Americans are evacuating from Afghanistan, when it is sure that Afghan Taliban are going to come to power again, Pakistan would be insane to go to war with the Afghan resistance. We will never go to war. And
how true is this, Mr. Zaid Hamid, that US is having its fusion cell in Pakistan to work against Haqqani network?
They have been doing this for many years, ever since the time of Musharraf actually. The American JSOC, Joint Special Operations Command, and the CIA were collaborating in Pakistan. They had created spies, they had created networks. Even the polio campaign was penetrated. Dr. Afridi, who's still in Pakistan's custody in the Osama bin Laden case. So, hundreds of NGOs, Pakistan former DG ISI, General Pasha, has testified in a congressional committee in Pakistan that hundreds of NGOs are working for CIA in Pakistan under various garbs, for healthcare, for education, So what is happening is that obviously they will not operate in Pakistan under the name of CIA, but they would be using various USAID projects, various humanitarian projects, various humanitarian NGOs like polio program that you saw. And there is absolutely no doubt that Haqqani's son, who was assassinated near Islamabad, was actually assassinated by JSOC, Joint Special Operations Command, or CIA's hit teams. And Haqqani's never accused Pakistan of it. Haqqani's never blamed Pakistan. The relationship between Pakistanis and Haqqani's never deteriorated after that assassination. But everybody acknowledges within Pakistani security establishment and within the Afghan resistance that he was assassinated by the CIA.
One more thing, Mr. Zaid Hamid, Shahidullah Shahid of TTP has given a recent statement saying that the popularity of TTP is increasing day by day in Pakistan, and is saying that we are ready for the brilliant results of the military operation. Then in Pakistan, no better news should be expected in return of the military operation.
You see, in the same statement, in the next line that he said was that the death of our commander is an irreparable loss to us.
Right.
So while on one hand he is saying a military operation is not going to affect us, in the same breath he is saying that army has delivered an irreparable loss to us as well. So basically this is all bravado, all nonsense, empty windbag bravados that we can stand against Pakistan army. The fact of the matter is they don't stand a chance.
And now he has started saying that the problem, it's not just being friends with US, but the actual problem is the system in Pakistan that's been implemented at the time of its establishment. Since US is leaving, so now they're finding some other reason to fight with Pakistan.
As we said, TTP has always been exploiting the religious narrative, political narrative, to justify their war against Pakistan. They have to have a high moral ground first to justify their war, their suicide bombing, their assassination. They're playing football with the severed heads of the Pakistani soldiers. Their acts have been so inhuman, so barbaric, that they need to find a moral justification, moral high ground or a political high ground to justify their war against the Pakistani state. But the fact of the matter is, never before in history the Pakistani state was united against them as we are today. The whole Pakistan, except for few idiot, insane religious groups who are now absolute minority in Pakistan. The entire Pakistani state, political parties, judiciary, media, youth,
seems like to be on the same
now on the
platform.
same page against these animals called the CIA-backed TTP, Tehreek-e-Taliban, Pentagon we call them, not Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan.
How do you see the MQM's rally that they took out last week to show the national solidarity towards the Pak army? And then Tehreek-e-Insaf also joined them. So do you think that now they are bringing it out there in open, that we support Pak army and its operations?
You see, the fact is that MQM itself is a terrorist organization. They've been running a campaign of death and blood and destruction in Karachi, assassination, kidnapping for ransom. And I'm not saying this, even in British Parliament, George Galloway made a very strong speech on MQM, how a Don is running a mafia in Karachi city and the Don is sitting in Edgware, in London.
It's a progressive step that they did show the national solidarity towards Pak army.
You see, the fact is that MQM knows it very well that once the TTP is taken out, once the TTP is eliminated by Pakistan Army, then the Karachi cleanup would also begin. And MQM is now trying to hedge their bets. They are trying to get an insurance policy to prevent army from doing that by showing support at this stage. The fact of the matter is whether MQM shows support to Pakistan Army or not, the crimes of MQM are unforgivable and they will be held accountable for that.
Mr. Zaid Hamid, Altaf Hussain also said a statement last week in which he says, he addresses to the Pak army that if the government is not cooperative, army should take over. Do you think politically it's a correct statement to tell army to take over? And it has created a lot of spur. A lot of political parties are demanding Altaf Hussain to take back his statement.
It's very interesting because if anybody in Pakistan makes that statement that Pakistan army should take over, which means a sedition case would be registered against that person would be booked for treason, for inciting Pakistan army to commit mutiny against the state. And this is what Altaf Hussain has done. And he is a British citizen sitting in London, running a political mafia in Karachi and making demands that Pakistan's constitution should be abrogated and Pakistan army should take over. That's a different story, that every Pakistani in his heart believes and demands that Pakistan army must take over and get rid of this democracy. That's a different thing. Yes, agreed. Pakistanis are fed up of this democracy. This democracy has brought nothing but death and destruction to this country. It was a CIA-sponsored democracy since the time of Zardari. Last 5 years of Zardari has been devastating, and these 6 and 7 months of Nawab Sharif government have been absolutely appalling. And they have brought the country to such a brink that actually every man on the street now is demanding Pakistan army to take over. So what Altaf Hussain is doing is he's trying to ride the public sentiments, trying to emerge as a hero at a time when he is himself the biggest criminal and the next target of army operations in Karachi.
Sure, Mr. Zaid Hamid, I have to take a break here. After break, when we comes back, I would like to touch base about Pakistan and Saudi relations and how they're impacting Iran. And then the allegations on Pakistan supporting Syrian rebels. So we'll talk on all that after a short break. Viewers, stay with us. Welcome back, viewers. We have heard the increased relations between Saudi Arabia and Pakistan and the Pak army, and this increased relationship between the two has spurred some voice, and then the allegations on Pakistan to be supporting Syrian rebels to put the Bashar al-Assad regime down, and that Pakistan will be providing weapons to the Syrian rebels. We would like to know all that. Mr. Zaid Hamid, first if we start with Pak-Saudi relations. Recently we have seen a lot of development happening between the two. So which direction are they going? And then why is Iran feeling neglected with this relationship of Saudi and Pakistan?
I need to put lots of facts straight here. Historically, Pakistan and Saudi Arabia have been very close in terms of military cooperation. It's part of Saudi Arabia's security strategy that whenever they feel threatened, they depend and rely on Pakistani armed forces for security and protection. It's been happening for decades, not just from today. In the first Gulf War and the Gulf lately also, whenever Saudis feel any threat from any quarter or whenever they need military training to their armed forces, they depend and rely on Pakistani armed forces. They have been buying Pakistani equipment, they've been buying Pakistani weapons, their officers are trained in Pakistani military academies, Pakistani brigades are always posted in Saudi Arabia for protection and security for various reasons, whether it's internal security, and never Pakistani troops have never been deployed by Saudi Arabia against any other country. They've always been deployed there for protection of the kingdom itself if it is attacked by any foreign force. Now, as far as this rumor is concerned that Pakistan is supplying weapons to the Syrian rebels, that's rubbish.
Right.
I want to
Why
reject
does
it
a
categorically.
French intelligence agency has to say that Saudi Arabia wants Pakistan to weaponize the Syrian rebels?
You see, that's
there?
not true. What is basically is that Saudi Arabia is purchasing weapons from all over the world. They have the right to purchase weapons from wherever they want. And they can purchase weapons from Pakistan also. And what Saudis do with those weapons is not Pakistan's problem. Pakistan's Prime Minister is too indebted to Saudi Arabia. Pakistan-Saudi relationships are too deep-rooted, too strong to say no to Saudi Arabia. Pakistan can never say no to Saudi Arabia because Saudis have, on their term also, have been bailing out Pakistan's economy whenever they felt like it or whenever Pakistan needed it too. If Saudis liked Pakistan's leadership, they would help Pakistan in any way they can. If they did not like Pakistani leadership, like they hated Zardari, they abandoned Pakistan during that time. But they have good relations with Nawab Sharif, so now they are offering all the help that Nawab Sharif wants. So Saudis may be buying Pakistani weapons, but there is absolutely there's no truth in these reports that Pakistani army divisions will be going to Saudi Arabia to fight or to support or to train or to equip Syrian rebels against the Bashar al-Assad regime. That's not true.
Then why do we see a recent change in the Syrian policy from Pakistan? Why did that change happen, in which it clearly supports the Syrian
that
rebels?
happened under Saudi duress, correct, that Pakistan has given a statement in support of the Saudi foreign policy, because Pakistan itself did not have any Syrian policy, and Saudi and Syrians do not have any influence in Pakistani foreign office also. So when Saudis, when they have so much influence and weight, and they actually bulldozed Pakistani government and foreign office to give a statement in their favor. Statement has been given, but nothing beyond, because practically Pakistan does not share any borders with Syria. No Pakistani troops will go to Syria. No Pakistani arms will be sent directly to Syria. And in fact, Pakistan has also refused to send 2 divisions of army that Saudis were asking for internal security.
Because of the pressure, Pakistan has to give out that statement. Don't you think that there might be some more pressures under the table that would let Pakistan do some more?
You see, pressures would always be there. Saudis would definitely want Pakistan to get more involved in the Syrian war, but this is the red line Pakistan can never cross.
Can Pakistan afford this?
This is not our...
See,
the fact of the matter is, Syria is a Muslim country, and Pakistan it's never been Pakistan's policy to get involved in the internal chaos and anarchy or civil wars of other Muslim lands. We have never done that. And whatever is happening in Syria is now even the regional powers are trying to pacify the war in Syria. You have seen the Turkey backing off. Turkey was one country which was very aggressively involved in Syria, but now they're backing off. They're trying to rebuild their relations with Syria. Turkey have realized that they have made a blunder in supporting the Syrian opposition, and now they are again trying to rebuild their relations with Bashar al-Assad. Similarly, you have seen that Russians and Americans have also backed off, and the Iran and American nuclear deal which has taken place has also its impact on Syria, which has made Saudis alone, isolated and very angry. And Saudis are looking for allies in the region to support their policy against the Syria. In fact, Saudis are standing alone right now. And though Pakistan Foreign Office has given a statement in favor of Saudis against the Syrians, but I think no move, no practical step is going to go beyond that. No Pakistani forces will go to Syria. No Pakistan army will be deployed, or no trainers will be deployed to support the Syrian rebels.
And no weapons will be provided there.
Weapons may be bought by the Saudi armed forces, but that's an official agreement that has been going on for decades.
But that's between Pakistan and Saudi.
That will remain between Pakistan and Saudi.
Rebels.
Saudis can dump it into the sea, or Saudis can give it to wherever they want. That's not Pakistan's problem. Pakistan is not responsible for that.
Our chapter. Okay, now how do you see Pak-Saudi relations affecting Pak-Iran relations? Is Iran, it seems like, being neglected?
Yes, Iran is being neglected. You see, this Nawab Sharif government, previously Zardari government was here, and Saudis never liked Zardari, and Zardari shifted his weight towards Iran, and you saw Zardari making lots of visits to Tehran as well. And Nawab Sharif, he has been implanted upon Pakistan by the Saudis and CIA both. So, and Nawab Sharif just cannot afford to make both the Americans and Saudis angry, and that's why he's actually making Tehran very angry. And Americans are using Pakistani soils through Balochistan, where they're supporting the sending in Balochistan Liberation Army. They're also sending in Jandullah fighters, and also sending in various JSOC, Joint Special Operations Command, and CIA-based terrorists from Afghanistan, but using Pakistani Balochistan territory. And Iranians are upset at this. And when Iranians protested Pakistan Foreign Office responded in a very cold manner. As a result, a relationship between Pakistan and Iran became tense also. And that's why I'm saying that, well, Pakistan Army Chief, the whole responsibility now falls on the shoulders of the Pakistan Army Chief, that he has visited Saudi Arabia, he has visited Ankara also, but he has not visited Tehran. I would strongly recommend Pakistan Army Chief to make a visit to Tehran also, to calm down the temperature between Pakistan and Iran and to remove the misunderstandings that are being built between Pakistan and Iran as well, because Afghanistan is the main critical